This morning, you looked in the mirror and told yourself a story. It felt like the truth. It felt like you. But the person staring back was not reporting the facts. That person was your defense attorney. And the real answer to why is far stranger than you think. You believe you know yourself. You believe that when you explain why you did something, you are describing what actually happened inside your head. You are not. You are guessing. And your brain is built to make sure the guess always sounds good. Start with a strange experiment from the 1960s. A neuroscientist named Michael Gazzaniga studied patients whose brains had been surgically split in half to treat severe epilepsy. The connection between the left and right hemispheres was cut. Each half of the brain could now receive information the other half never saw. Gazzaniga showed a command to the right hemisphere only. Something simple: walk. The patient stood up and started walking. Then Gazzaniga asked the patient why. Remember, the talking half of the brain, the left half, never saw the command. It had no idea why the body was moving. Did the patient say, "I don't know"? No. The patient said, "I wanted to get a Coke." Read that again. The brain had no access to the real reason, so it invented one, instantly, confidently, without any feeling of making something up. Gazzaniga called this system the interpreter. It is a storyteller living in your left hemisphere, and its job is not accuracy. Its job is coherence. It takes whatever you just did and writes a reason underneath it, like a caption under a photograph. And here is the uncomfortable part. You have this interpreter too. It is running right now. You do not need a split brain to be fooled by it. In 1977, two psychologists named Richard Nisbett and Timothy Wilson published a famous paper with a title that gives the game away: Telling More Than We Can Know. In one study, shoppers were asked to evaluate 4 pairs of stockings laid out in a row and pick the best one. People overwhelmingly picked the pair on the right. The stockings were identical, every single pair. The position was doing all the work. But when asked why they chose that pair, nobody said position. They talked about texture, sheerness, quality. They described differences that did not exist. And when the researchers suggested the position might have influenced them, the shoppers denied it. Some looked at the researchers like they were crazy. This is not lying in the way you normally think of lying. A liar knows the truth and hides it. You do something stranger. You hide the truth from yourself first, so that the story you tell afterward feels completely honest. The deception happens upstream of your awareness. By the time you open your mouth, you are sincere. Why would evolution build a brain like this? Why would natural selection design a mind that misleads its own owner? A biologist named Robert Trivers spent decades on this question, and his answer is unsettling. We deceive ourselves in order to better deceive others. Think about it. Humans are intensely social animals. Your ancestors lived or died by their reputation in a small group, and the hardest lie to detect is the lie the speaker believes. If you truly believe you deserve the biggest share, your voice does not waver. Your eyes do not dart. There is no guilt to leak out because there is no felt lie to feel guilty about. Trivers argued that self-deception is not a glitch in the system. It is a weapon. Your brain hides the truth from you so that your face can sell the fiction. So your ancestors who believed their own press releases outcompeted the honest ones. Their confidence recruited allies. Their sincerity won arguments. And they passed that machinery down to you, every generation, for hundreds of thousands of years, until it landed in your skull, humming quietly, editing your memories, polishing your motives, adjusting the story of you. You can feel this machinery if you know where to look. Think about the last argument you had. In your version, you were reasonable and they were difficult. Now here is the eerie part. In their version, they were reasonable and you were difficult. Both of you walked away with a clean, flattering, internally consistent story. Both stories cannot be true, and yet neither of you felt like an author. You both felt like reporters. Psychologists have measured this asymmetry directly. A researcher at Princeton named Emily Pronin ran a series of studies on what she called the bias blind spot. She described common cognitive biases to people, the tendency to take credit for success and blame circumstances for failure, the tendency to see yourself as better than average. Then she asked a simple question: how much do these biases affect the average person? People said, quite a lot. Then she asked, how much do they affect you? And people said, not so much, actually. In other words, the one bias almost everyone shares is the belief that they are less biased than everyone else. Your blind spot has a blind spot. And the small lies pile up in the most ordinary places. The psychologist Dan Ariely ran experiments where people solved math puzzles for money and then shredded their own answer sheets so no one could check them. Given the chance, did people cheat massively? No. Almost nobody claimed the maximum. Instead, almost everybody cheated a little. Just a few extra puzzles, just enough to profit but not enough to feel like a cheater. Ariely called it the fudge factor. It is the margin of dishonesty your self-image can absorb without cracking. You do not ask, can I get away with this? You ask, can I still see myself as a good person if I do this? And your interpreter, your inner defense attorney, is remarkably talented at answering yes. Everyone deserved a little bonus. The rules were unclear. You would have solved that one anyway with more time. Hear how reasonable it sounds. That is the point. It always sounds reasonable. That is what the machinery is for. There is one more gear in this engine, and it was discovered in 1959. Leon Festinger asked people to perform a mind-numbingly boring task, turning pegs on a board for an hour. Then he paid them to tell the next participant the task was fascinating. Some were paid $20. Others were paid just $1. Later, everyone was asked how they really felt about the task. The people paid $20 admitted it was boring. The money explained their lie, so their self-image was safe. But the people paid $1 did something remarkable. They decided the task actually had been kind of interesting. $1 was not enough to justify lying. So rather than see themselves as liars, they quietly rewrote their own opinion. Festinger called it cognitive dissonance. When your actions and your self-image collide, your brain does not update the self-image. It updates reality. Now zoom out and watch this play across a whole life. You chose the job, so the job must have been the right choice. You bought the house, so the market was smart to buy into. You stayed in the relationship, so staying must have been wisdom rather than fear. Each edit is tiny. Each one is invisible. But you have been making them since childhood, and the person you call yourself is partly the archive of those edits. Your autobiography has a ghostwriter, and the ghostwriter works for your ego. Should this terrify you? Maybe not. Here is the counterintuitive twist. A degree of self-deception seems to be part of ordinary mental health. Psychologists studying what they call positive illusions have found that most healthy people overestimate their abilities, exaggerate their control over events, and expect better futures than statistics would predict. Mildly inflated stories seem to help people persist, recover, and act. The watchdogs of perfect accuracy are not the happiest people in the room. Your illusions are load-bearing. Tear them all out at once and the ceiling may come down. So the goal is not to become a person who never self-deceives. That person does not exist and never has. The goal is smaller and more useful. Notice the moments when the stakes are high and the story is suspiciously flattering. When your explanation makes you the reasonable one again. When your memory of the argument has conveniently lost your worst sentence. When the thing you want to do turns out, after some reflection, to be the ethical thing too. What a coincidence. In those moments, you can do the one thing the interpreter cannot do on its own. You can ask, what would this look like if I were the one who is wrong? You will not catch every edit. The machinery is older than language and faster than reflection. It was built by ancestors whose survival depended on believing their own story and selling it hard. It is not going to switch off because you read about it. but there is a strange freedom in knowing it is there. Other people's stubbornness starts to look less like malice and more like machinery. Your own certainty starts to feel a little lighter in your hands. You hold your version of events the way you would hold a rough draft, confidently, but with a pencil. Tomorrow morning you will stand in front of the mirror again. The story will start on its own, the way it always does. The face you see will come with a caption already written, flattering, coherent, sincere. And now you will know something almost no one in that mirror has ever known. The person staring back is not your reporter. That person is your defense attorney. And for the first time, you get to decide whether to cross-examine the witness.